Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media for HAR, and I'm happy to be joined this morning by 2023 HAR Chair Cathy Treviño. Welcome back to the program, Cathy.
Thank you, Christina. And thanks for
We're
having me.
Absolutely, we're always excited to see you. But today, not an exciting topic, somewhat of a maybe a nerve-wracking topic for some. But we're going to really get into some things that I think a lot of our members are seeing right now. And you have some best practices to offer in regard to that. So, as far as seller impersonation and other scams that are kind of running rampant in the industry right now, that's what we're going to be discussing today. And we're excited to hear from you on that. For any members who maybe don't know who you are just yet, maybe they're a brand new member and haven't heard from you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself, Cathy, who you are and what you do.
Well, thanks, Christina. I'm Cathy Treviño. I'm the 2023 HAR Chair, and I've been in the industry now 26 years, and selling residential pretty much all throughout my whole career. But I've got very, very actively involved in HAR and other associations and advisory groups and committees throughout my career, and I think that that's how it really kind of thrusted me out here. The main one that I think that really helped me thrust out there was TRLP, which is the Texas Realtor Leadership Program. And we currently have a class running right now one of the things that they always tell us is as a leader, you're always trying to groom your next set of leaders. And that's what I love about HAR and Texas Realtors is this particular program actually does just that. And it grooms our next set of leaders. And very excited to say that our whole executive committee are all TRLP graduates. And, everyone thinks that their class is the best, but 2012.
And I'm sure if we have any TRLP alum in the group in the watching this morning, they'll let us know because they're quick to tell us that their group is the best. Absolutely. Well, Cathy, just curious. I mean, you got very involved with HAR, TR, NAR. What was your motivation behind wanting to get involved and kind of give back to the association?
I've always been the type of person to where it's like, our we as leaders and as managers and brokers, as you continue to go up in your career, I've always believed in education and I've always believed in giving back. And the one thing that with joining different committees and being involved, it's one way for it was one way for me as a leader to be able to give back not only to my agents, making sure that they're informed and all of those things, but also to our industry. There's so many opportunities out there that you can go in and just volunteer to give back, whether it's a networking group or whatever it may be. But there's so many things that you can do. And right now, actually, we are going to have our board of directors election coming up. I believe today the ballots will be going out and sometime this afternoon. And so make sure that you're looking for that. It's so important to vote because these are the board members that are going to be able to um, pass and look after realtor issues that happen, things that are happening in the industry, to make sure that our agents are always upfront and educated and informed of what's happening in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stress the importance of voting to make sure that we get the right people on the board that are going to be supportive of you and our members. And so look for that email today. I believe it's coming out through Big
Mm-hmm.
Polls. Do not get it, reach out to HAR so we can make sure that you receive it. Check your spam, all of your junk, all of those things, but make sure you vote. Whatever you do, vote, 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 vote. And
Absolutely. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And people can actually see a full list of the candidates, har.com/election. We can post that in the comments and directions on how to get your ballot and vote. And like Cathy said, those ballots are going out this morning. So be on the lookout the next couple hours in your email. You should see an email coming from Big Pulse that's your unique ballot so that you can vote.
Yeah, and the other thing I would like to mention is that if you're thinking about getting involved, take a look. In October is when our committee involvements, where you can go in and apply for committees. That usually happens in the fall, around in October. So this is a great opportunity to come in and look at all the different advisory groups and committees that we have on HAR. I believe there's right around 25 or so, and sometimes we're forming new ones. So as the industry changes and we need to make sure that we're filling in the gaps to complete everything that we need to do to make sure that our members are informed. We are needing for good leaders to step up and volunteer. You guys are the ones that are on the ground. You know, we always say boots on the ground. Y'all are out there listing and selling properties. We need good agents who are going to be able to give good feedback, and also, you know, give a little bit of time. Most of the committees meet maybe once a month. Some of them, if that. Some of them are just quarterly, you know, if that. So it's not a ton of time, but it does take a little bit of time. But I guarantee you, you will enjoy every bit of it. You'll meet some great people along the way, friendships that will be everlasting. I know I have, and you'll get so much more out of it than you put into it.
Thank you. And thank you for mentioning that. An amazing leader calling for more leaders. So we hear your call. Thank you. So let's get into our topic for today, because it really seems like we can't go more than a couple days without hearing reports of seller impersonation lately. But for anyone who is tuned into this program and is unaware, tell us what is seller impersonation? How do those scams, if you will, work?
Yeah, unfortunately, in today's time with things, you know, everything is online that we're doing, the scammers are out there and they're looking for ways to be able to make a quick dollar. And a lot of these are not just small dollars, they're big dollars because
Mm-hmm.
in our industry, we are selling the most expensive, um, you know, product that someone will ever purchase in their lifetime, and
Mm-hmm.
it's home ownership is so very important. We all need it and we want it, and it's the American dream. But the scammers understand and they know that as well, and they know that if they can just if one agent will just put their guard down for 1 second, that's all they're looking for, and they can make a lot of money on one transaction versus going out and hitting up a lot of different little ones. And so this is why they feel that our industry is a prime target. So I actually got on a task force with Texas Realtors, and they brought in, I believe it's six of their errors and emissions companies that come in, and they talk about what they're seeing as far as fraud going on throughout the nation. And so this is where this came up. I thought it was a great topic for us to be able to share this with our members and make sure that everyone is aware of what's going on out there, and to definitely keep your guard up. So we're seeing a ton of different things, but the main thing for real estate is we're seeing a lot of seller fraud right now, that's coming along with, a lot of times it's happening on vacant lots, vacant properties, rental properties. You know, these are properties where may see an absentee owner that can make it very easy for the scammer to come in and actually say, hey, you know, if I come in, this particular lot has been vacant for years. This,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're banking on the seller not even thinking or knowing that they're being impersonated, and they're trying to sell their home or their land out from under them. So we've started seeing more of these happen throughout the state. Unfortunately, it's become one of the biggest things that are happening. What we can say is that title companies, if you utilize a title company, and I would definitely encourage that, to make sure that you're using a title company on every transaction. A lot of times they will actually be able to figure these things out, but there have been some that have gone all the way through, and ultimately, if that happens, then that money's gone. And, you know, that's where it becomes really, really difficult, because it could be a small lot of, you know, under, you know, maybe under 100,000, which is
Mm-hmm.
still a lot of money. And then, of course, there are also larger lots, and they're looking at farm and ranch. So some of these properties are large pieces of property and can be worth a lot of money. And so, we're starting to see more and more of those larger transactions. They're getting bolder. Unfortunately, these scammers, this is all they do. This unfortunately is their job, and so they're waiting for someone to just let their guard down so that
Mhm.
they can pounce on that and then hopefully move forward.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that a little deeper in regard to letting your guard down, because there are some indicators that might alert you to a potential seller impersonation. So, tell us, what are some red flags that our members should always be watching out for?
Yes. So some of the red flags are, a lot of time these impersonators will call and they will say that they are out of town. Maybe they're a foreign investor or for foreign purchaser, and they have particular property that they're wanting to sell. And a lot of times it will be maybe priced below market. They would like to hurry up and list the property and
Mm-hmm.
list it at a fairly lower price so that they can hurry up and get it to closing because they're rushing to get to closing. They are pricing it below market. They're also asking for just cash offers. One of the things is they want cash so that they don't have to worry about dealing with a lender a lot of times, because the lender will actually ask for documentation and different things that they feel like we don't want to have to deal with that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more red flags for them. They want a quick close. They want cash. They want to also only communicate via the phone or text. Some of them are using WhatsApp. Things like, those type of clients where they do not want to be face to face.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these are red flags. So if you get a client that's in that situation, trust your gut. Think about it, ask questions, make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you are researching the property and connecting, dots to dots, so that way, if something does look a little fishy or sound a little fishy, that you're asking the right questions and making sure that they are answering those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Another red flag is that they refuse to go to closing. They want to hire a notary or have their own outside notary come in and sign the documents. So, that's why I encourage you to utilize a local title company. Many of our agents already have established connections with title companies, and so use your gut. Make sure you're using someone that you know and that
Mm-hmm.
they will do the research in the background for each particular client. Um, Another thing is when you're calling them and talking to them, that the number may be suspicious. It may be a foreign number or out of state number, or um, even an international number.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can actually cross reference those numbers to make sure that it is the right person that you're talking to. Um, and make sure that, when you're calling them, that they are saying who they are. There's a lot of red flags that you can look after. Their name. If they say that they're, a particular person and the tax records show something different, that's also a huge red flag. You can
Mm-hmm.
go and research that, and you want to make sure that it is the right person. So, and if that happens, you want to make sure that you're trying to connect to the owner in the tax record, or Secretary of State. You can go in there also and cross reference, because many of these will actually come in and say that maybe they're not an individual, but maybe there are a company or an LLC. If that's the case, you can go in, you can research the Secretary of State, verify who the manager or the president of that LLC is,
Mm-hmm.
and that, hey, those names match. So what I can say is, as an agent, we just have to be smarter and making sure that we're always on our toes and researching our clients a little bit deeper, especially when you feel like this may be too good to be true. Like they
Mm-hmm.
just come in, they want to sell it, they want to, they don't care about the price, they just want cash, they want all these red flags. Those to me are
Mm-hmm.
all red flags. But as an agent, we also need to be careful, because we also have fair housing rules and all of these things that we need to
Mm-hmm.
also abide by, and that we don't want to be accused of, either stereotyping or any kind of, you know, that can come back on us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing one for one client, you need to make sure that you're doing the research for all of them, Same process, but definitely listen to your gut.
Okay, very good. Well, you've already shared a couple best practices like using a title company, listen to your gut, pay attention. Are there any other best practices that you recommend for, for realtors to be utilizing?
I think a lot of it is also making sure you have, on a lot of these things, a lot of it comes back on the broker as well, is making sure
Mm-hmm.
that you have good errors and omissions insurance in the event that some of this stuff happens as well. Because, and we can talk a little bit about that, but, check the appraisal. I don't think I mentioned that. Check the appraisal to make sure that the names are correct. And if not, you want to make sure that you send a letter. One of the things that you can do is reach out to the seller directly to verify that, hey, I'm the listing agent, or I'm writing you a letter to confirm that we're listing your property,
Mm-hmm.
and that that everything is okay, that you are the correct seller. And so a lot of times if a seller receives that, and if it's not them, they're going to be like, whoa, I'm not listing my property.
Mm-hmm.
uh, they're going to reach out to you.
Mm-hmm.
So send them a letter if they're out of state, because we do have a lot of absentee sellers who, have property all over Texas, and they may not live in the same city, and they're not aware that somebody's trying to do this. And it's
Mm-hmm.
very, we also have a lot of this is happening also with rental properties. And I think there was just recently an actual report, and on TV,
Mm-hmm.
have people moving into rental properties, and then they're squatting and they don't want to leave, and the seller is finding out that, hey, I didn't rent this property, and so there's a lot of different things
Mm-hmm.
that you want to make sure that, if whether it's a rental, a listing that you're listing for rent, or a home for sale, or property or land, that always try to do your research as much as you can
Mm-hmm.
for proof. Do they have a copy of their deed? I think that's something that's very, very important. If it's free and clear, they should have a copy of their deed. Ask them for copies of bills, maybe, a light bill, or any kind of utility bill that they can provide that's in their name. There's ways that they can do that. That's very simple, that you can make sure that you get that information. Um, but try to send a letter of confirmation to let them know that you are listing the property, and hopefully it is a true seller and it won't be an issue. But if it isn't, maybe that's a way that they will be able to respond and find out prior to something, it getting too far gone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great suggestion. Really alerting that property owner, because maybe the scammer doesn't get by you, but maybe they call up another agent and get by that agent. So alerting that seller, or not that seller, but that property owner, that's some great advice. We did share a flyer with some red flags and best practices in the comments. That flyer is downloadable, printable, shareable. If you're a broker, distribute that to your agents. That's something Kathy provided us, so that we could then pass it along to you. So please utilize that flyer. I just wanted to note a few comments that came through. Um, One was Hope Sampson. She agrees with you. She said, I recommend checking the county appraisal records to see if the lead's name is actually the name of the record. Lately, she's seen a lot that do not match. Um, Carlene CJ Johnson, she said, I dealt with one of those early in the year. It was a vacant lot, and they would only communicate via email and only called when I indicated that I wanted to purchase the property. And she put a little sunglasses emoji, a little detective work there, and got that one done. But yeah, these are great advice. If anyone else that's tuned in, watching this live stream, has other tips or advice, type those in and we'll read those as well. A question came from Rosie here. It says, how about asking for a picture ID in addition to a copy of a deed or payment of past year taxes? Is that allowed?
Yes, I mean, always ask for a government official ID. I mean, and you can check to see, as you go back and you confirm whether you're going into the deed records or whatever it may be, verify their signature. Look at that ID that they're providing, and then look at the signature that was recorded,
Mm-hmm.
and verify to see those type of things. Unfortunately, we do have to investigate. We have to put our little, that kind of hat on. But yes, always ask for an ID, and verify their signatures to make sure that it is the right person. And I always say, when in doubt, I mean, that's when your gut. God gave us a gut for a reason, and if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And unfortunately, if it is and everything's fine, then you can let your seller know that, hey, I'm doing this for your protection because of these things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is, if you educate your seller and let them know that this is what's happening in our industry, unfortunately, that and we're having to go through these measures to be able to protect you, and make sure that I'm doing my due diligence for your protection. Ultimately, I don't think that they're going to be upset because you asked for an ID, or you're verifying and you're doing a little bit more research than you probably would have, years ago. But unfortunately, with cyber fraud, and it's everywhere. I mean, I got one from Amazon just last week. I think it sent it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But Amazon actually sent me a letter that said, we will never ask for you to change your password, or,
Mm-hmm.
personal information and all of these things, because they're getting, their clients are being confiscated, their information is being confiscated. And so they're having
Mm-hmm.
to send out information. We, as an association, we want to make sure that we're getting the message out so that agents are aware of what's actually happening. And Texas Realtors also is doing an amazing job. Like I mentioned, with this task force, what they've done is we've gathered a lot of the information from different errors and omission companies, and then we're putting information out back into the industry. So the flyer that was provided for you today was created through Texas Realtors. The Texas Realtors recently just put out a article in the Realtor magazine that came out last month. Had a lot of this information on there. I would encourage you to go in and make sure you read it. If you don't have the print version, you can always go on online and look for the magazine, and you can download it and read it. There's a lot of really good tips in there for you to be able to share with other agents. Make sure that you're sharing it to your clients, and I think that's the most important. Is we, as agents, as realtors, it's our duty to be able to educate the consumer, and those are our clients. And so the more we're equipped with information that we can utilize to help them, the better they are. And always, always, always use a wire fraud notice.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that, but that's one of the other things that we're seeing quite a bit, is wire fraud with title companies. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we're looking at on that aspect is, you have these scammers that are going in and waiting. They may be in your computer right now, just waiting to see what's going on. Unfortunately, we don't know that
Mm-hmm.
they're looking at what we're doing. And the minute that you start seeing, they start seeing, oh, there's a transaction, it's about to go to closing. So they will go in there and impersonate the title company, and in
Mm-hmm.
some cases, they'll impersonate the agent, and they will go in and create an email that looks identical to your emails and your signature, or the title company's email signature, and send out an email prior to closing, usually the day of or the day before, and
Mm-hmm.
say, the wiring instructions have changed. This is where you need to send the wiring instructions. And unfortunately, it looks so identical. I mean, literally, it's maybe one letter off, that a lot of people have missed it, and
Mm-hmm.
clients are sending money and to that particular new wiring instructions, and that money's gone.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had a case within our office that actually happened. And in the case that we had, unfortunately, it took over a year for the money to be released.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that puts a cloud on the title. All of these things happen. The buyer's out, the seller can't sell. So never let your guard down, and
Mm-hmm.
always check those emails and verify the email addresses of where it's coming from.
That's such a good point. So the impersonation, today we're really focused on the seller impersonation, but it's not just the sellers that people are impersonating. Like you said, it's the title companies. Denise had this exact same. She was commenting that she had this exact same thing happen to, I don't know if it was her client, but a client she was aware of, that a recent transaction, a buyer was scammed and wired funds to a scammer instead of the title company. So yeah, so are there any other impersonation scams or impersonation that you've seen aside from sellers and title?
Unfortunately, we're seeing a little bit of everything. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you guys, unfortunately, as the chairman, I have gotten hacked, and people are impersonating me,
Mm-hmm.
saying that I need a favor and I would love to have these gift cards sent to me and all of these things. And I get it at least once a week. My agents and other agents in the industry will send me saying, "Hey, Kathy, is this you?"
Mm-hmm.
It states that I'm in a conference or in a meeting and I need a favor. If you receive any of those type of text or emails, it's not me. I am, you can just delete it. You can, block it, whatever you need to do, but
Mm-hmm.
you can also report it. And we have safety at har.com. You can report things like that, whether they're coming in from emails, whether it's an actual, seller impersonation, whatever it may be. The best thing is to report it. You can report it to the FBI or report it to the authorities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's very difficult to find these type of criminals, but I think the more that they're being reported and the more that more research is being done, we will definitely be able to beat them, and handled. But I think, like with anything, you have to be able to report it because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times they go unreported, and unfortunately, those are just moving on to the next one, and hopefully that they'll have another victim that just you know put their guard down for
Mm-hmm.
just a second. So always have your guard up.
Absolutely. Reporting them, if nothing else, slows them down temporarily, right? I mean, a few months ago, a member was getting DMs on Instagram from Bob Hale. It wasn't really HAR President and CEO Bob Hale, but someone impersonating him. And luckily, this of course, they were asking for gift cards or some sort of monetary value from them, and this member was that thought this is odd, so she emailed Bob Hale and said, "Hey, I was getting a DM from you. Is this really you?" And it wasn't. So you just have to, if something feels weird, you just have to pay attention to that feeling.
Yes, for sure. And like I said, I get an agent, unfortunately, almost about on a weekly. That's how often it's happening, and it's crazy because you would think I'm like I don't even know how to stop it. Like it's,
Mm-hmm.
I always just tell the agent, just report it. You can always just delete it, block them, but don't give in. And I would, none of us from leadership will ever be, asking for those type of
Mm-hmm.
favors or gift cards or anything like that.
Okay, very good. So you mentioned a little bit about rental scams, and I actually wanted to ask you about rental scams because about 2 years ago, we had a show, Member Focus Monday, focused completely on rental scams. So are rental scams still as prevalent today as they were then?
We're still seeing them, unfortunately. Like I mentioned earlier in the year, they had a whole show, I believe it was on Fox,
Mm-hmm.
talking about this. So I don't think that the scammers are really slowing down any. We're finding them on rentals, we're finding them on land, vacant land, homes, a little bit of everything. So I think, the main thing is know the warning signs and, you know, verify everything. And like I said, if you think that it's too good to be true, it probably is. And so
Mm-hmm.
therefore it even gives you more opportunity and more reason to take the proper protocol and make sure that you have those steps in place so that way you won't be a victim and neither will your client.
And in some of these cases, it's consumers that are working without a realtor. And so HAR did partner with Crime Stoppers last year, and put together a really great. It's on our website where people can go see those tips to avoid rental scams. They have it in English and in Spanish on our website, so we can share that link. And we actually already did share that link in the comments. It's just har.com/tips. So be sure to share that with people because, again, sometimes they're not working with a realtor, but if we're spreading that information, that might help them avoid those scams. Moving into a different sector a little bit here, just any other, so we were talking about seller impersonation. Are there any other scams that are affecting the resale market right now that our members should be aware of?
Just like I mentioned, we talked about just those scams about gift cards and things like that. I mean, these fraudsters are really creative. I mean, they're always coming up with something different. So the minute that we start talking about one thing, there's another thing that's rolling out just not too far behind. So always keep your guard up. Like I said, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to hurt to do your research and make sure that you're really doing your due diligence for your client. So take those precautionary measures, and if you're going overboard, well, then you're doing your job, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's what your seller and your buyers even have to understand, that this is what you do, and this is why they need to utilize a realtor, because we fight for their rights, and we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do everything we can to make sure that they're protected. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I mentioned, there's a lot of different things that are out there, but the minute we start talking about one, they start creating another. So just be on your toes.
Okay. Just again, moving into a different sector here. Are there any scams affecting new home or new construction in the commercial markets?
I haven't heard
Mm-hmm.
personally of anything happening on the commercial sector or new homes. Um, But, like I mentioned, the fraudsters are out there and they're always looking for opportunities. And if they feel like there's a crack in the system in any way that they can put their foot in and just get in there in the doorway, they will do it. So,
Mm-hmm.
know, just always keep your guard up. One of the things that I would encourage, either, many agents have to purchase their own, and a lot of the brokers actually purchase for their residential agents. And in that class that we went through, or in that advisor group that I was in, they talked about the importance of having cyber insurance,
Mm-hmm.
because this is something that a lot of the E&O carriers will not have automatically. It's a rider that you have to add onto your policy. And we strongly encourage, if you do not know that you have cyber insurance, or if yours is included on your E&O, get with your broker or reach out to your carrier and ask them, and make sure that you get that added, because the more and more as cyber fraud continues to happen, you want to make sure that you have that policy in place, so that if it does happen to you in your brokerage, that you guys are covered.
Mm-hmm.
So many of the another thing is, many of the carriers will offer training and classes that they will bring to you and be able to offer you. So if you would like to have more training or more additional resources, get with your E&O carrier, because a lot of them will be more than happy to provide training to your individual offices, and support you with tools that can help you, because ultimately they want as least claims as possible. So the better they can train you, the better it is for them. And with that also, we as an association offer training as well. We're always having different training classes available. I'm very excited to say that now we're also in person classes are available. We have
Mm-hmm.
online classes, webinars. HAR provides a ton of tools available for all of our agents, and so take advantage of that. Also, September is Realtor Safety Month, and so we're going to be rolling out some amazing tools and different classes available for agent safety, and I'm sure this topic will be at the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good. Thank you. Just I wanted to share a few comments that have come in. I'm going to jump on this one first because it's related to what we were just talking about. Teresa Hill said, "I've heard of some Supras being stolen, from new construction homes. They will saw off the Supra and then come back with the key and steal appliances. So something to be aware of there. Thank you for sharing that with us, Teresa." A few more comments that came in that I just want to touch on. Rick, kind of going back to the seller impersonation, That Rick said he spoke to a fraudster on the phone. It was a lead. The voice could hardly be understood, and the fraudster had very little to say. So email and text was needed for clearer communication. So again, it could be somebody kind of tricking you, maybe using something to change their voice in some way so that they can just get you on the email or text. But as Kathy said, that's where it pays to have multiple ways of verifying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I mentioned, in this case, when they're wanting to, that's one of the biggest things is they want to move out from speaking to you directly and going to a system which is like
Mm-hmm.
text or email, or where they don't have to talk to you directly,
Mm-hmm.
or actually see you. So one of those things you can, the great thing with technology now is that Zoom, we utilize this platform now almost on a daily, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's familiar with Zoom. I think that's the best thing that came out of COVID, unfortunately, that really thrust us out there to be in front of people more. So,
Mm-hmm.
so utilize those platforms. If you have a client, and like in this situation, ask them to get on the Zoom with you so you could see them face to face.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also something that you can do to try to, get to know your client a little bit better, and have that face to face
Mm-hmm.
that unfortunately, when they're out of state or out of the country. And I'm not saying that all of these clients that are out of state and out of the country, because we deal with international clients on a daily, are all bad, because this happens, only to those that truly want to scam you. So if they're constantly making excuses, it's most likely a red flag.
Okay, very good. Um, just Denise had a question, which was answered in the comments, but I still want to bring it up out loud. Is that why title companies are not to be listed at the MLS to prevent scammers? And Denise did follow up and said that she still sees them in there from time to time. So, can you just kind of speak to that a little bit? Why is that rule in place? And if you do see a violation of that rule, what could you do?
Yes, so that is one of the reasons why the HAR actually implemented that rule, because we started seeing more and more scammers going and utilizing that information. If they see the title company and they see that, oh, this particular property is going to go with this particular address, and or this title company, they start putting that stuff together. It makes it easier. You're giving them the information. You're handing them that information. So
Mm-hmm.
the information that we can put out there, and the harder we can make it for them, the better. They're going for the low hanging fruit, and so we want to make it harder for them. So make sure you're not putting that information out there, and if you see that kind of stuff, you can report it. HAR is not in the business to make money off of fines or anything like that. And I think we've heard that in the past, that HR is just fining. These rules are implemented and in place for your protection. And so we want to make sure that our information is accurate, and that it's up to date, and that we're not giving too much information out there that can turn around and bite you. So
Mm-hmm.
you can report it. Can you give where do they report it to? Do you know
There, so
exactly?
they can click the little report button, that little alert icon, and do that, or email mlsqa@har.com. That's the
Yep.
easiest and fastest ways to report those. Okay, excellent. A couple more comments and questions that I'm seeing coming in, and I still have a couple questions for you too, Kathy. So, just to speak a little bit to the renter buyer side, um, if you have thoughts there, and it really kind of goes into just generally my next question for you is any other recommendations to protect yourself as an agent, broker, or your clients, because we're asking here about buyers and renters. Renters, Rosie said, I'm seeing renters applying with false IDs or fake bank statements. Almost just also another kind of red flag here. But on the buyer side, what about buyers? I had a buyer who only wanted to communicate using WhatsApp for communication. So will you give us kind of maybe some best practices on the buyer renter side?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, you always want to verify everything. And yes, there are going to be times that it may be a true buyer or seller on the other side that does need to communicate via WhatsApp or some of these other platforms. And we're
Mm-hmm.
not knocking those. We just want to verify and make sure that you are doing your due diligence to verify that client on the other end. So, like we mentioned, ask them for a copy of their ID.
Mm-hmm.
Look for red flags that would look to see, like, oh, well, they're saying that their name is Joe, but their ID says it's George or something different,
Mm-hmm.
totally. And so those are things that you want to look at and make sure. And I know we all have nicknames and different things that we go by, aliases and all of those things, but always try to verify as much as you possibly can to see if that person is who they say they are. Like I mentioned, you can ask for bills, things like that on the
Mm-hmm.
sales. um, and you want to make sure that you also ask for a valid government ID.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are also things. It's unfortunate in our industry, in today's times, that a lot of these things can be fake. And we see that. And like you said, I think that y'all are seeing fake IDs, fake um, bank statements, all of these things. So, the best thing for you to do is make sure that you try to do your due diligence and always inform your client, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with a buyer or a seller, that these type of activities are happening and you're doing the best you possibly can to verify it on their behalf. And that they can also take steps and do that if they feel that
Mm-hmm.
it's something that they don't feel right about as well. So, just get out there and verify every little bitty thing you can. And there are systems that you can use and other apps and things like that that
Mm-hmm.
you can download and kind of do cross references and things like that. I would encourage to use those as well.
Excellent. Um, we actually had a follow up from Rick. He had said the phone number, this was based on the lead that he got, the phone number didn't match what he found online. He was using a service called fastbackgroundcheck.com, so he found the true owner's phone number. So, like you said, utilizing some outside resources. With that in mind, we did just have a quick question from Tiffany about Forewarn. Is that still an option? As CJ Johnson said, she uses it. It's very beneficial for her.
Yeah, Forewarn is an amazing product, third party product. And we actually, as an association, are looking into this. So we're hoping that we are coming closer to an agreement, and hopefully that would be something that we can provide to our members. But that is something that we're looking into at this particular time.
Okay, very good. So you mentioned this, but I want to reiterate it because it is so important. We get questions about it a lot. So if a member, and we're not talking specific to personal safety today, but if a member, or threatening calls and things like that, but if a member receives a threatening email, call, anything like that, or if they encounter something that they think is a potential spam or scam, what should they do? What's the process?
Always report it to the authorities, because you don't know the mindset of this particular person and what all they know. And so you definitely want to report it to the authorities. You can report it to the FBI, and you can also report it to safety@har.com. We want to know about these scams as well, because if there's something going on out there, we want to be able to get a message out to our members as quickly as possible. And so that's one of the things that I love about HAR is if we see something or we are informed of something that's going on, we want to get the message out to our members to be aware and of what's going on out there. So always report, regardless of what it is, report it so that way the message will get out there and more members will know what's happening.
Okay, very good. You mentioned training opportunities earlier. So, how can realtors learn more about specifically seller impersonation fraud?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, HAR has an amazing education department, and you can go to har.com/education, and you can type in there and find out all of the upcoming classes that we're going to be providing for realtor safety and seller fraud, buyer fraud. All of these different things will be coming out. Also, Texas Realtors also has some great information on their platform, And NAR offers some great information on realtor safety as well. So all three of the associations, local, state, and national, are aware of what's going on with, unfortunately, with the seller fraud and buyer fraud that's going out there. So the best thing for you as an agent, as a realtor, is to be informed. The more informed you are and equipped to be able to find these, and notice these red flags, and the faster you are to be able to, find out like whether this person that you're dealing with is a true buyer or seller or a fraudster, and
Hmm.
you can stop it, the better it is for everyone. So we would just want to make sure that all of our members are informed, and when in doubt, just, listen to your gut and report it.
Okay. Um, Shiva mentioned, going back to calling the local authorities. Shiva just mentioned that she called Fort Bend, and they said, if you're in danger, call us back. So, who should they? She said, do you recommend calling the FBI directly? I guess it just really depends on the situation, right, Kathy?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of resources out there, but a lot of them are, there's so many of these happening on a daily basis. I mean, they are just swamped with all of the calls and things, but don't let that stop you,
Hmm.
because, if they are already on, maybe this person has already been red flagged, and it
Hmm.
just takes one more call, your call, to get that person off the streets and out of the hands, of, out there hurting people. It's unfortunately that these people, they this is all they do. And but if we can stop them, and that's the one way that we're going to be able to, is just, staying on the forefront, making sure that we're doing what we can to do our part. And if you don't report it, then that's just, one, they're just off to the next person. And so we
Hmm.
want to make sure that we're doing everything. So report it, FBI, local authorities, HAR, or any other resource that you may be receiving it from, whether it's your bank, because we're seeing them, they're attacking our banks and all of these things. A lot of these industries, a lot of the industries, like I mentioned earlier, Amazon, a lot of these industries, they're all aware they're being affected,
Hmm.
because it's not just happening in real estate, it's happening in just commerce, everything, every day-to-day things that you do. Unfortunately, these criminals are out there trying to steal money from innocent victims every single day. You hear it from, attacking the elderly, and trying to steal their whole fortune, everything that they've worked so hard for, to, homes, to vacant land, to rental properties. So it's in a wide range of theft that's happening out there, and it's so unfortunate. But if you're on your toes and you're thinking about it, and it's on the forefront of your mind, and it's part of your day-to-day routine,
Hmm.
to make sure that you, as a realtor, these are part of your routine process to make sure that you're screening your clients and preparing them in the event that something like this may happen.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I can tell by the engagement that we've gotten in the comments. Lots of people telling different stories, and we couldn't get to them all today, but we do see them. So I can tell that they really appreciated what you shared today. Is there anything else that you would like to share today?
I just want to say, stay on your toes. Like I mentioned earlier, many times, when in doubt, try to go back and verify the information. Um, get with your broker, or look at your own E&O policy and make sure that you have cyber insurance coverage on there, because that's what's going to help you in the event that if you ever are a victim in one of these transactions, you want to make sure that your E&O is covered in that aspect, because many of the E&O policies do not have that, and that's a special rider. So make sure you have that added.
Very good. And just one more reminder that today is the day. Board of Directors elections have begun. Some people are already receiving their ballots. If you don't have yours yet, don't worry. They go out in batches, so they're going out this morning. It is an email coming from a third-party company called Big Pulse. So all members in good standing as of July 31st of this year will receive a unique ballot from Big Pulse. So be on the lookout for that and vote, vote, vote. Right, Kathy?
Vote, vote, vote. Get out there and vote.
Very good. Well, that is it for this Member Focus Monday. Again, Kathy, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your knowledge. We're so happy that you're a part of that committee and able to come back and report to us here on the local level, because as we know, this is something that we hear about this at every meeting, every class, everybody's talking about this. So we truly appreciate it. And thank you for bringing us the flyer, the resource. Again, we can share the link to that again in the comments if you missed it earlier. Please distribute that amongst your people in your office, print it out, email it out, whatever the case is, because it has all of the red flags that Kathy mentioned and best practices as well. So again, Kathy, thank you so much. Next Monday, we will be back with Jeff Lindner from the Harris County Flood Control District. So be sure to mark your calendars for that one. We'll see you all next Monday at 9 a.m. Thank you, Kathy, and have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.